building a character. The most important part of being an actor is building your character, building who you are in this scene, in this project. But the thing is, there's a lot of misconceptions about it. We're about to get into it today. Now, before we do, I do want to say this. This is not going to be a video on like technique or what I think is right, what I think is wrong. This is just from my experience working on the projects I have worked on with the 2 shows on Netflix, the movies I've done, the show on Nickelodeon, all the people that I've met, and what I've taken from everyone when it comes to how each person has built their character and how they do approach it. So listen, everyone builds characters different. Everyone approaches acting different. This is just my take on it and what I know from my experience. So a lot of people, when they think about what goes into building a character from an actor's point of view, they probably think, okay, well, let's say that it's like a bully. Okay, well, he's got to be mean. Let's say he's playing a depressed character. He's got to be sad the entire time. But it's way more nuanced than that. And it's probably actually the opposite of what a lot of people think. It really begins with yourself. When you're building the foundation of your character, you start from yourself. And you're probably hearing that and you're probably going, what are you talking about, bro? That's how you see all these actors play themselves, quote unquote, play themselves all the time. Why do you want to become one of those actors? You want to play all these different characters like Christian Bale, or Daniel Day-Lewis. The trick, though, is with a lot of these actors is they do start with themselves and they do it to build a foundation. Listen, as an actor, you need to have a connection to the character. Your whole point of acting is to make him relatable, is to validate what your character is doing. In our life as human beings, everything that we do, we think that we're in the right. I mean, think about it. Whether you're aware of it or not, when you're having an argument with someone, very rarely are you easily persuaded away from your argument. You are usually set in stone in your argument. Even after if you like find it, some kind of compromise in the argument or in the conversation with someone, you'll walk away think you can always validate what you did. Let's say you get into a car accident and it was your fault. You might have been looking at your phone for a second or something. You look up, you rear end someone. The person gets mad at you. You're going to defend yourself. You're naturally, as a human, going to defend your actions. You might be like, oh, you slammed on your brakes, too hard when really you were just on your phone. So as humans, we always are validating what we're doing. And so when we approach a character, we have to relate with something. We have to validate what the character is doing. And the only way to do that is to have a deep connection with the person on the paper. Howard Fine says 2 things that I think is really important on this. He says, when you start with the character, don't look for the differences, look for the similarities. And number 2 is, don't judge, justify. Now, when he says to look for the similarities, not the differences, basically what he's saying is, when you get a character, your whole point, like I just said earlier, is to, have a deep connection, justify what your character is doing. And I'm going to give an example from my actual acting career at the end of this video, so be ready for that. When you're doing that, though, you don't want to look at the differences right away, because if you look at the differences right away, you're going to look for things to not agree with. You're going to, start judging the character right away. And when you start doing that, you can't fully justify your character. You can't fully be in the shoes of that character at that point because you're judging, you're not justifying. But if you look for the similarities in the character and within you and yourself, you're going to be able to connect with them on a deeper level. And a lot of that really comes from not looking at the differences. And the reason we do that is because if you can't empathize with that character, if you can't connect with that character or understand them, even if they're not the best person in the world, then the audience won't. And the whole point of, and this is just my opinion, I think a lot of people share this opinion, this is kind of off track of the video, but when I'm watching a movie, the story can be absolute trash, bro. It can be horrible. But if I care about these characters and if I'm relating to these characters, that's what keeps me engaged as a viewer personally from what I get out of movies and shows. Now, don't get me wrong, a great story is great, but the characters really mean something. And that's really what keeps us in movies and in TV shows. Because if you're watching a Mission Impossible movie and you don't care about Tom Cruise if he dies or not, then you're not going to care about the movie because the stakes don't mean anything to you. You know what I mean? If he's about to get caught by someone or if he's getting tortured or whatever or interrogated, then you're not going to care about what happens at all. And you're not going to be interested in the movie. So really the foundation of a connection to a movie or a connection to a TV show or a play is the connection you have to the characters. That's the foundation of these projects. Like I said earlier, a lot of people point toward actors who play themselves in every movie, right? You have guys like, people usually throw out The Rock or Adam Sandler. But here's what's interesting. They're not playing themselves, quote unquote. They're playing versions of themselves. Here's a good example. Did you see The Rock in Smashing Machine? Did you see Adam Sandler in Uncut Gems or Reign Over Me? That's not the typical Adam Sandler character, and that's not the typical Dwayne The Rock Johnson character you see. Because here's the thing. You are not the same person every single moment of the day. You're just not. We play different characters I just hit my mic. We play different characters all the time. Think about it. Do you act the same way when you talk to your grandma versus when you talk to your best friend? Probably not. You're probably not going to say half the shit you say to your best friend to your grandma, and vice versa. Are you going to talk to your boss the same way that you talk to your brother? Probably not. So we have these different interactions every day, and we have these different versions of ourselves that are basically like shape-shifting into every conversation we have, depending on where we are, the people that we talk to, and et cetera, whether you are aware of it or not. And so we play these different characters every single day. And so every single character that you see in a movie, every single character that's going to, come across your desk as an actor for you to audition for is already inside of you. It already is. And your job as an actor is to find that. Find that version of yourself that comes out sometimes in certain conversations or in certain moments. And that's like The Rock with the Smashing Machine. He wasn't playing the typical, smoldering guy in the forest like in Jumanji and Journey. He was actually playing a guy in distress, and it's not that he is playing himself in those Jumanji and Journey movies and all the other films that he's done that kind of has a similar type of vibe to him. Is that he's playing a certain type of character, a certain type of version of himself. But now in Smashing Machine, he's playing a whole different version of himself. That's still The Rock. There's still elements in that performance. That's The Rock. It's just a different version of himself, a different environment that he's in with different circumstances. Same thing with Adam Sandler. You can go watch Just Go With It or Blended or, any of those films, Happy Gilmore. You're going to be like, that's the same guy. But then you go watch Uncut Gems. You go watch Reign Over Me, by the way. Watch that movie. Not a lot of people have seen it with Don Cheadle. Phenomenal. Best monologue, I think, ever. Go check it out. He's not like his other characters in those roles in particular. It's a different version of himself in different circumstances. And so when people talk about actors who play themselves, they're not playing themselves. They're just playing a certain version of themselves that's either working, so they don't want to change it, or they haven't had an opportunity to present a different version of themselves in different circumstances. And so a lot of people are going to point to, okay, what about actors that use their imagination, right? Because not all actors are going to be like me. Not all actors are going to be like, very, I don't know, personal. They're not going to take a lot of stuff from their personal life. Think about the Stella Adler actors who are all about imagination. Well, even the people who have imagination have to take from their own life. They do. So the way I like to view it is I like to say that you use yourself as a foundation for the actor, and then you use your imagination to pull in the circumstances and pull in all the different other things going on around this character. But it really stems from yourself, and that's kind of the point of this video. I'm going to give you guys an example of my character in Stranger Things Season 4. His name was Jake. I was the bully in the first 3 episodes of it alongside Angela. I'm the guy who threw the milkshake on 11. So when I first got this character, I'm like, all right, he's a bully. Okay, I'm not really a bully, but I am. I bully my siblings all the time. So I'm like, okay, great. That right there is a connection. I bully my siblings all the time. Jake is a bully. This is going to work out great. But then I'm like, how do I actually connect with this character, right? That was like the springboard. Now it's, okay, how do I justify this character's actions like we were talking about earlier? How do I get people to care about him or connect or relate to him? And I was like, okay, what's a way that I can humanize this character? Well, in my personal life, there's been a lot of situations where I felt like I haven't fit in. When I was younger, even today, there's moments where I just don't feel like I fit in. And so I think most people can have an experience that's similar to that. And so what do you do in those situations? You cling on to something that will make you fit in, whether that's a person, whether that's, you might say a joke that's not funny to you, but it's going to be funny to everyone else. But so you say it so you can kind of fit in and get those social points from it, right? So I was like, okay, that's something I can relate to. All right, well, I feel like Jake in this scene, or in the scenes that they gave me for the audition, I feel like Jake is not the leader. Angela's the leader. He's getting pulled along. So what if Jake is not this mean, bully, nasty person? What if he's a guy who's just trying to fit in? He gets abused. He gets neglected. He's never been able to fit in anywhere in his entire life. But now he meets this group of friends, with Angela and some of these other characters. And even though they're bullies, it's a place that he fits in. It's a place that he feels comfortable in, that he can be himself, and that he has some kind of purpose in. And so that was the foundation of Jake from Stranger Things. That was my way of justifying. And once again, doesn't mean you go out and bully people because of it. It doesn't make it any better. I know that. I'm just saying it's a way of justifying what you're doing. It's a way of connecting to the character. And because I connected to the character, even though it wasn't a big role at all, a lot of people came to me and were like, bro, I actually really liked your character. I connected with your character. There was something about Jake that I liked him. And, you know, even though you didn't really know all these things about Jake, you didn't know, you know, if he was being really pulled by Angela, you didn't know if he had all this, you know, neglect in his life and the sense of, you know, didn't have any purpose, whatever it is, you felt it a little bit while you were watching. And that's what acting is. You know, even it's about building these layers that you might not see. It might not even show on screen, but it helps the actor connect more. It helps the actor relate more. And in turn, the audience will see that. They'll see the truth. They'll see some life there. Even if they don't know what it is, they'll see life there. And that's what draws them in. And so that is an example. Let's kind of go through it. Like I said, I use the bullying as kind of that foundation, and myself as the foundation of kind of being lost, of not really knowing how to fit in. So that's kind of the foundation. And then the imagination came in with like being neglected at home and things like that, and being pulled along with Angela, and, you know, having to kind of rely on bullying and some other things that I didn't speak about. That's where the imagination comes in. So it stems from who I am as a person to this, and basically it's like that. You use that as like a door to a new world, and that's where all the imagination is. So that's what character building really is like for me and a lot of other people that I've met, that I've talked to over my 10 to 12 years now of being an actor. And so it's not just imagination, and you might be a little bit scared at first on being too much like yourself. But like I said, you play so many different versions of yourself, and you are thrown in new circumstances every single day, and you act different all the time. And so, you know, don't be scared about that. Be scared about playing a certain version of yourself. But if you get thrown into new circumstances and you're able to use a little bit of that imagination to kind of sprinkle on top to really expand everything, you'll see that's where the true character lives, is within that. So I don't know how long this video is going to be today. I'm not going to lie. This was an idea that I wrote down when I was writing down video ideas, and I was like, this is something I really want to expand on, because I gotten this question a lot regarding my process and what I do, and I was like, why not mix this in with a big misconception I believe with actors who play themselves, right? And so I wanted to touch on that a little bit and say that The Rock's not a bad actor. You know, Adam Sandler's not a bad actor. These actors are actually very, very good actors. It's just that they're playing the same version of themselves in these, but once they step out of that, which we've seen them do, you start to see that, oh, these are phenomenal actors, and you're seeing different versions of themselves in these characters. So it's pretty cool, man. I love acting. I love this world of stuff. I think it's so fascinating. I think it's almost, like I said, I feel like I learn a lot about myself whenever I work on every character, because you have to find it within you. That's the one way to anchor yourself to this character. It's so fascinating. I absolutely love it. But I appreciate you guys watching this video, man. Give this video a like if you did. Give it a thumbs down if you hated it, dude. Just let me know. Let me know if you don't like this content. But, you know, like I said, give this video a like, man. Subscribe if you are new. Hit that little bell notification. It notifies you when I post. But I do post on YouTube every single Tuesday at 4 and every single Friday at 4 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. And comment down below what you thought of this video. What do you agree on? What do you don't agree on? Because you're probably not going to agree with everything I said. But let me know in the comment section down below. That's what that's there for, baby. All the conversations. I love y'all, man. Let me know what video you want to see next. And I'll see you soon. Later.